Hey everybody, welcome to episode 24 of You Cannot Rewatch, the Evangelion Rewatch podcast. Dylan.
David.
Oh no, I was trying to say your name.
Oh, I thought we were reverse introducing each other.
No, I was gonna say hey Dylan.
Oh, hey David.
And then you're supposed to say what?
Okay, what?
We only got a couple more episodes left and we're done with the show.
More. Final countdown.
Yep. Technically, one more after this because it's gonna be a one podcast. Because episodes 25 and 26 we're doing in one podcast. But yeah, we're almost there. We almost made it. We didn't quit. We didn't give up. Thanks for sticking with us so far.
Yeah. How do you like it? It's not even over yet.
How do you like it? It's not over. And then of course we'll be moving on to like the end of Evangelion stuff. But anyways, if you didn't catch by our confusing intro, I'm David.
And I'm Dylan.
And we're going to talk about episode 24 today, which if you need a reminder, which you shouldn't, but if you do need a reminder, that is the episode with Kaoru. Mm-hmm. Kaoru shows up. So, real quick, before we get to this episode, though, a couple things from last week. So, I actually wrote people's names down this time. Sorry that it took me 24 episodes to remember to write people's names down.
We're still
and now that we're almost done, so my bad. But anyways, so Colin with 2 L's, which is a weird way to spell your name, but whatever. Shouts out to Colin. He sent us an email or message, I can't remember which, but in episode 23, the part where they go down to the big what's that room called? Test chamber, where the rays are, like all the ray bodies are.
Yeah, that's not Central Dogma. Is that something else?
No, it might be in Central Dogma. I don't know. I'm always confused about the layout.
Yeah.
I mean, we're only the hosts of an episode of an Evangelion show that's been going on for 24 weeks, but actually a little bit longer than that. Anyways, though, when they go down there and Ritsuko's talking about all this stuff, and it starts showing you all the rays all around. It's just like shots of the rays. Maybe this was in your version. I don't think it was because you didn't mention it. But in some versions of the director's cut episode, there are a bunch of random images that flash. And as I'm saying this, I realize I should have these pulled up, and I don't. Hang on. Where did I put the link for that?
I don't remember this, so I don't think my version has them.
I think I bookmarked it somewhere. Well, hang on. Well, I'm looking it up as I'm going to continue to talk, so hopefully I can multitask here. So yeah, apparently how it worked is none of them were in the original on-air version, and then when they did the director's cut, they added in all those abstract kind of images, and then in later director's cut versions they were removed, and nobody really knows why.
Oh, weird.
So apparently we saw the later version because we definitely watched the director's cut. So there's actually a ton of images. I'm going to post a link in the YouTube description. So everybody should go check all those out. They're really interesting. There's like a ton, so I'm not going to like go into all of them. There's like a ton. I'm going to send you the link, Dylan, real quick, so you can just pull it up and take a look. But yeah, it's images of like Adam and Second Impact, Adam being awakened and the Wings of Light. It's a lot of images we saw in the Nerve flashback episode. But then there's some new kind of bizarre images that weren't in there. And this, the link that I'll be posting in the YouTube description actually kind of has little summaries of what each shot is. So it does a much better job of breaking down every single frame than we could. Because, they flash by fast. So it would take us like a 2-hour podcast to discuss every individual image. So I recommend everybody going and checking those out. But it is really interesting.
You even have like a real, like a photo of real people.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think there's a couple in there. Yeah, there's actually photos of real people. Because we get that in End of Evangelion. There's actually footage of real people, not cartoons or animation, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, we actually get it here in episode 23. So yeah, there's that.
Cool.
And then also, Daniel, who messaged me, sent in a theory he had, which I find pretty interesting. I was really down with it, and then I kind of watched episode 24, and there's a little bit of dialogue that maybe contradicts it a bit, but it's still possible. So we were bashing Misato, or not Misato, we were bashing Ritsuko last week because but one of the reasons she kind of started going crazy was because her cat died.
Right.
There's a conversation she has in episode 23 where she's on the phone and she's like, "Oh, that cat died, huh? Oh, that sucks," or whatever. And I don't remember the whole conversation. It's normally a boring conversation. But Daniel messaged me and he said he believes that they're not talking about a cat, they're talking about Kaji. and
Oh.
it's over the line, the nerved line, so they're not saying Kaji. They're because he was doing all the shady stuff, and it's like a lot of secret stuff, so they don't want to use his name. So it was like maybe a code name for him. And this is further evidenced by a few things. When Kaji, I don't remember what episode this is.
Yeah,
14, 15. But Kaji is at a bar with Misato and Ritsuko, and he gives Ritsuko a little cat medallion or something that he picked up from a trip. And he's like, oh, I got this from Kyoto or whatever. I don't remember where he said he was. Something like that. And she's like, you didn't get this there. I know where this is from. And so I think that's when she kind of starts to figure out, oh, you're up to all the shady stuff.
Because didn't we talk about that cat lady possibly being Ritsuko's grandma?
Yes. And when she's on the phone, she says, oh, my grandma's cat died.
Yeah.
Like, my grandma was supposed to be taking care of that cat, and now he's dead. So it totally really fits.
That does fit really well.
Yeah, her
That's
grandma
cool.
was helping out Kaji, and they had all this cat imagery, and also Seilei even refers to Kaji as being a cat's paw for Gendo or for Seilei or something like that. So there's actually some pretty good evidence. So
Yeah, I like it. Daniel,
that's
good job.
yeah. We always like to get theories, but Daniel, good job on that one. That's pretty good. So yeah, that's I think everything for episode 23. So let's move into episode 24.
Let's do it.
First off, really great episode.
Yeah, awesome episode.
I think this is one of the ones that a lot of the episodes that we've said are like really great. We've kind of said like, oh, this is a really underappreciated episode. I think this one's very well known and appreciated.
Yeah.
I don't think this is one that's kind of as forgotten or looked over. So we maybe won't go into certain parts of it as deep as we would other parts, because I think people are honestly really familiar with this one. But again, if you needed a refresher, this is the episode where Karu shows up. So it opens up actually with footage of Asuka as a young girl having just been selected to be trained as an Ava pilot, and she's running. She's very excited. She's running to tell her mom. But when she opens the door, her mom's dead body is hanging there. And I'm not totally sure if this is an actual real event, like the exact way it happened, or if this is kind of just the way Asuka's remembering it. She's maybe combining different events together. Because it just seems a little weird that she was, at this point, with what we know about her mom, that she would have been this excited to run and talk to her mom.
Yeah.
But it's possible. I mean, I think it's maybe kind of how she's remembering it, kind of an amalgamation of a few different parts of her life. But then it hard cuts to a slap. Asuka slaps Shinji because Shinji is giving her the news about Kaji, because Shinji caught on pretty quick that Kaji wasn't around anymore, because he was there when Misato listened to the voicemail and he saw her crying. Didn't take him long to put two and two together, so now he's finally breaking the news to Asuka. Which, after everything that happened last week, she was already, not doing so well. Or I guess 2 weeks ago, she was already not doing very well at all. And so by last week, I mean episodes 22 and 23. So she goes into full-on depression and goes to some abandoned, destroyed house somewhere, and it's kind of just like pretty much like suicidal, like just.
From what I read, and I didn't realize this till I read this. It looks like she really did slit her wrist, and that's what she's doing. Didn't catch up the first time I watched this.
I didn't either. I didn't catch it like the 3 or 4 times I watched it. I had to read that too, but
because it just looked like she was just in like dirty old bathwater. Then I realized, oh, that's blood. Which makes me wonder, because they mentioned how she'd been missing for like 4 days, and she's not looking too hot. It makes you wonder, like, how long did they really leave her there before they're finally like, all right, we probably should stop this.
I don't know. That's a good point, because she definitely looks. She definitely looks like she hasn't eaten in several days, maybe even a week or so. I mean, she looks very thin around the cheeks. But some of that could also be blood loss. I think. I don't know. I don't know biology. But yeah, so Nerve arrives. Nerve or Sailor, somebody arrives to pick her up. And then we find out that the 5th child is arriving soon. It's weird. Because I guess I don't totally remember that they call him the 5th child. So I always think of him as the 4th child. But the 4th child is, of course, Toji.
Me
but
too.
I don't know. I always forget that. But Karu is actually the 5th child. And so he's arriving soon. He's all mysterious. Nobody knows who this dude is. And there's a big mystery in this episode. So we get a scene where Gendo goes to visit Ritsuko, who's now in their little cell thing where they hold people because of what she did to all the Rays. And he's just kind of questioning her, like, why'd you do all this stuff? And we find out, 100%. It was alluded to a lot, but we find out that they have had a relationship, and she's just kind of off the deep end now. Then we see Shinji down at some lake or pond or something, and he's just looking out, kind of contemplating a bunch of stuff, thinking about, like, oh, my friends are gone. This is where they live. Their houses are destroyed. So this is kind of the last mention of Toji and Kinsuke, aside from some like mental flashes later, but like the actual mentions of the characters, like what they're actually up to. This is the last time we ever, I think, really hear about them. But Shinji's kind of like, after everything that's happened with Asuka, he doesn't have her anymore. Rei 2 died, and I don't know if Shinji is aware of the fact that Rei 3 is not Rei, the old Rei, but he's definitely realized that there's something different between them now. And Misato, with her trying to offer herself to him, like that, there's a big gap there now. So he really doesn't have anybody at this point. He's always kind of been on his own, but now really every single person is gone, and Shinji is at his most desolate. And just in time, he hears "Ode to Joy" being hummed by Karu. And Karu, of course, being the final angel, which I'm a little confused by. We'll get into that later. I've always been a little confused by that. But so he's he's humming "Ode to Joy." And he says that music is the greatest accomplishment. This isn't verbatim, but essentially he says music is the greatest accomplishment of all humans. He refers to them as Lilim.
Yep.
But, he just says that, like, this is the best thing people have done. Out of everything that you guys have done, technology, whatever, music is the best thing that you guys have created.
This is the point where you probably didn't realize, but then I did, that they totally changed voice actors for the rebuilds on Korra.
Oh, yes.
I totally forgot they did that. So when I heard him talk, I was like, what is this shitty voice?
Yeah, I didn't even think about that this time because I'm watching subbed, of course, so that didn't even occur to me. But yeah, I totally forgot. It's been a while since I've heard
his rebuild voice is way better.
Oh yeah, it's been a while since I've heard the dub version. I need to go. Yeah. I should go watch a clip after this so I can remember. I remember it kind of.
He sounds like a shitty nasally kid.
Yeah. Which sucks because I think, again, we might get some hate from this because the dub's terrible, don't watch the dub. But I think this is the point in the show where the dub has kind of started to get a little better.
Yeah, it's getting pretty good.
Like, Shinji's been better, Misato's been better, Asuka's been falling into her character more, and then all of a sudden you get this curveball with voice acting from whoever voice acts Karu, and it's just like, oh man, we were finally getting a little bit good.
There. Yep.
We finally just got all the other characters good.
Because like the reboot one, he sounds so seductive, but this one, like, not at all. Like, not even close.
Yeah.
Not like he should.
Yeah, I don't like his voice in the dub. He's fine in the sub though.
Yeah, you're an angel. This is the best you could do.
Well, it was the '90s, and it was trying to do American voice acting, where anime was still not serious, even a bit in the United States. It was like such a small niche thing. I mean, it's kind of still a niche thing. It's sort of, I wouldn't call it mainstream. It's sort of popular now. Some shows are, but it's definitely taken much more seriously now than it used to be. I mean, in the '90s. How many people would even be able to tell you what anime was?
Yeah.
Now at least everybody knows what it is. So, when they were casting voices...
That's probably when people still call them, like, Japanese cartoons or something like that.
Yeah, probably. Or just cartoons. Just straight-up cartoons. Or, it wasn't, like, as big of a thing. And so I'm sure, they didn't really have good voice directors. And that's why a lot of the original dialogue has changed, because nobody really cared. They were just like, we're making this show.
Yeah.
So, I know a lot of people are, like, very, very hostile when it comes to, like, dub versus sub arguments. And the sub is better in terms of voice acting, in terms of the original dialogue. But, like, it's not something we need to fight about. Like, who cares? If you want, like, we both like the same show, so it's really dumb to argue over that. So go ahead and feel free to argue in the comments below. Dub versus sub. Be as violent as you want.
I mean, really, I don't care either way. It's fine with me.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, yes, one is better, but, like, I don't care. Like, if somebody... Yeah, all right, well, whatever. Let's move on. So... I watched the episode earlier today. I always hate this because sometimes I'm really bad about taking really vague notes and not remembering exactly what they mean.
I write the most vague notes too, so...
I wrote down birthday. What? Who had a birthday? Oh, they mentioned Carter was born. His birthday...
Oh, yeah. Okay, there you go.
Okay.
It's like, this is Always Sunny, like Charlie notes.
Yes. So they mentioned Carter was born on the day of Second Impact.
Yeah.
And this is the part that throws me off a little bit. Because... I understand, Karu was created from Adam the same way that Rei was created from Lilith.
Right.
In the form of Yui or whatever. So I don't know if Karu, was in the form of another person, which I guess is possible. Or if he just kind of just naturally looked that way. I don't know how that works. But, so he's, I mean, why is he the last angel? I've never quite understood.
I feel like this is kind of more explained in
the rebuild?
In the rebuild 3.33. When he says, I was the first angel and I've fallen to be the last one.
Yeah, I think he says I've been cast down to be the last. Or
exactly.
Something like that.
Like basically going from first to last, basically.
Yeah, it's just weird because
So
in the rebuild, he's almost like surprised, like, how did I not see this coming?
Yeah.
Whereas in the show, he's just like, oh yeah, I'm the last one. It's like
I don't know if he fully thought it out quite yet. I guess maybe.
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah, because it almost makes you wonder. Is like maybe they're not made in a certain order; they just appear in a certain order. And he was like already there, but he just got chosen to be the last angel to show up. I guess I don't know.
That could be, yeah, could be something like that. I'm sure there's some thing somewhere where somebody said something about something. Mm-hmm. But I don't really know. But either way, it's not a huge deal. He's the last angel. I don't really need to think about it that hard. So then we see a scene of Misato talking to Glasses Dude. What's that guy's name?
Hagen or Haga or something like that?
Hayuden.
Hayuden, there we go. Hayuden.
Yeah, I don't know. So he's talking to Misato. He's kind of like her mole at this point. I guess he has been for a while. And they're in the car going down into the geofront. And they're talking about stuff like, oh, yeah, I hacked into all this stuff. And she's like, that's really risky. You shouldn't have done that. And my favorite thing about the scene is they're talking normally. And he's just like, yeah, I did all this bad stuff. And she's like, oh, you better not get caught. And then he's like, but it was worth it. I found something out. And then he leans in and whispers to her. He found out what Ritsuko was. You just openly admitted that you did all this bad stuff and you hacked into all this stuff and you found out something really important. That's why now do you whisper? You should have whispered at the beginning.
Obvious thing of like, I'm going to tell the audience this much information, but not this information.
Yeah,
it's like totally like one of those things.
It's really bizarre. I'm sure it looked cool from a directorial standpoint, but it's weird. But anyway, so yeah, he finds out where Ritsuko is being held. So then we see some synchronization tests. Kaoru has arrived, and they're gonna see about how he functions as a pilot, and they're all blown away because he synchronizes exceptionally well with Unit 2. I believe much better than Asuka is now, because Asuka's like 0 now, so he blows her away. Then Kaoru goes to talk to Rei. He runs into her, and this is a scene that's not in the on-air version. This is just a director's cut scene. But he bumps into Rei and just says, like, Kaoru realizes quickly that, like, just like he's created from Adam, she's been forged from Lilith, and so he just kind of says that, like, hey, we're kind of the same, and they kind of look similar, I suppose. So then we get the bath scene.
Mm-hmm. The famous bath scene.
The famous bath scene. The scene everybody immediately jumps into saying that Shinji and Kaoru are gay together and all that.
And if I'm not trying to. I feel like we came off last time like we're really like homophobic or something.
I don't think we came off that way. Did we come off that way?
I know. I don't think we did. But I feel like I could easily see someone misinterpreting that.
Yeah, I guess.
I think we're just saying it's not. I think if watching the scene in that perspective too, it is more or less. This is like an alien coming from space who doesn't understand how humans work.
Yeah.
So he doesn't realize he's giving off some sort of like he doesn't realize he's being like
he's doing things that could be considered sexual.
Yeah, but he's not doing it intently. He doesn't occur to him because it's not something
right. I guess maybe on the first viewing, because at this scene on your first watch through of the show, you wouldn't know that this was an angel, so it would seem like just some weird kid.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's just I just assume we bathe together like this and do this stuff like this. Like it's just
right. Yeah, well, I mean, we kind of mentioned before, like the angels have kind of changed their goal.
Yeah.
They've been trying to understand people and communicate with them. With Asuka, they tried to directly enter her mind and like rip it open to get inside and look around and figure it out. And then with Rei, they tried to physically fuse with her. And now they've kind of come around and like
into like Shinji's butthole.
Right. They went through the front for the other time, so now they're going from the back. But so. They've realized, the way to approach somebody is through, like, honest, just, like, love, really.
Yeah, they realized how to actually exploit them to get the information they want. Instead of trying to, like, force them kind of in a way to out of it, they, like, get them to tell it, like, what to want to tell them the information.
Yes. So, I hope it didn't come off as homophobic. Like,
yeah, I really hope not.
If Shinji is gay, that's not a big deal. But, I mean, there's been nothing in the show that has ever insinuated that. Yeah. I don't think that this episode really does. Mm-mm. Kaoru is the only one who kind of makes any kind of what would be considered an advance towards Shinji. But again, as we mentioned, Kaoru is just trying to communicate with people, and this is how he understands that you should do that, based on how they've read the other people's minds and kind of figured that out. This is how Kaoru thinks that you should
especially
go about
since
that.
If they're going off previous information, the two people they probed was Asuka and Rei, who both want to bang Shinji.
That's true. Yeah, if the information is shared through the angel cloud, then it would be they would have that same compulsion. But also from Shinji's standpoint, because you could argue, well, it's because of how Shinji reacts. And he does, he blushes a lot, and he gets kind of like surprised by it. But I mean, again, we were talking about earlier, Shinji has lost every single person in his life.
Yeah.
He is completely alone. And here comes this person the last person that he met, like, fresh, that was his age, was Toji, who punched him in the face the first time they met. Yeah. And yeah, they did later become friends, but then, there was also a thing where he ripped one of Toji's arms and legs off, and all that happened. It didn't go so well. And so now here comes this kid who isn't punching him in the face, who isn't yelling at him and slapping him, who isn't just completely like a doll to him.
Or asking him to do crazy stuff he doesn't want to do.
Who doesn't manipulate him. Yeah. It's just a person straight up coming and saying, hey, I just like you for who you are, I really care about you. And like to Shinji, that's everything that he wants and needs and has been denied from every single other person.
Right.
And he's the most vulnerable now than he ever has been. And here comes this figure to give him all of that. So yeah, I think, sure, it's possible that it's somewhat of a gay or bisexual thing, but I think that's kind of downplaying it. I think it's deeper than that. It's a connection between two people.
You don't have to be like gay or bisexual like to have that kind of love connection with somebody. That's just kind of really what it is.
Right.
It's just that.
Yeah, I mean, I think to most people, especially a lot of people here in our country, I don't know how cultures are in another country, the idea of meeting a guy, going into a bath with him, and him like touching your hand is like, it's instantly like, oh, that's gay. Right. But like, I mean, that's not that's kind of our culture. I don't know if that's necessarily how it would be anywhere else.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
And you got to keep in mind too that these are like 14-year-olds. They're a little bit older than just being kids, but like kids hold hands and stuff all the time. It's not a big deal. Kids will say like I love you to each other and stuff, like it's no big deal. It's not all gay or whatever.
Right.
This is just, they're still in that state.
And really this affection is just kind of important. They need to establish this kind of deep affection for each other.
For what happens later.
Yeah. Just they needed that.
Yeah, definitely. I think, again, it's maybe possible that there's, something sexual there, but I think it's much deeper.
Especially because the goal they're trying to, because you got to realize the goal they're trying to accomplish too is like they're still trying to finish this deep, like meaningful connection in just one episode. Yeah. To fit all the stuff in there. So they have to just,
a lot happens in this episode. Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, there's so much information. I mean, I'm not even halfway through my notes for it yet. Yeah. There's so many scenes and so much deep stuff with the characters. So yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of scenes that don't have Karu in them at all, or Shinji in them at all. There's a ton of other characters that are in scenes here. Yeah. And so, you have these scenes where you have to force, in as short of a time as you can, make the audience understand, hey, these two people really care about each other. So this is definitely the most direct way to do it. So we get a scene of Seilei just kind of talking about, this is our we're going to seize our own destiny. We're not allowing anybody else to be in command. We're taking the command back from Gendo. That's why we sent Karu. Then we see Gendo in front of Unit 1 talking, and, he's just kind of saying the opposite, like, my plans are almost coming to fruition, and everything's going to go well. And I believe this shot, actually I'm positive this shot is not in the original on-air version, but we see his hand, and Adam has been fused into his hand.
Yep.
And then he also mentions something about Yui, because of course Yui's in Unit 1. Oh, he says, like, soon we'll be back together, or something like that. But that the shot of Adam in the hand is extremely important. And it's something that was never in the original on-air version of the show. The first time that shot ever existed, if I'm remembering my facts right, is in the movie Death and Rebirth, which I don't think we've ever talked about on this podcast. But if you're not familiar with Death and Rebirth, which you probably are, it is essentially just a enormous recap movie showing the events of the entire series. It was made after the show had ended and before End of Evangelion. And it had a few new shots in there. Most of those new shots are a lot of what we see in the director's cut. There's some stuff in the director's cut that was never in Death and Rebirth. But that shot of the hand was in Death and Rebirth. I know a lot of people, maybe think it's important to watch Death and Rebirth because of stuff like that. I think you're all right not watching it, especially in the age of the internet. You just look up a few shots.
I've never seen it.
You need to watch. Yeah, I kind of skimmed through it because it's really just the show again. I guess if you haven't seen the show in like several years and you kind of want the experience of watching it without having to watch a ton of episodes, I guess it would be good for that.
Yeah, because sometimes I feel like watching Ava, but I don't want to watch the whole series, so I just watch the rebuild. I could just turn that on and watch that.
Yeah, that might work. It's been a long time since I've seen it, and again, I just skimmed through it, so I can't remember exactly like how great of a retelling it is. Like if it would be, obviously it's not as good as watching every episode, but if you want something quick, I don't know if it would be comparable or if like it would just not be a good experience. I don't really know, because I really just watch it to skim through and find those scenes. But yeah, so anyways, that scene, of course, with Adam and his hand is extremely important. because that's never seen. That's the only time we see that shot. And then in End of Evangelion, spoilers, if you're one of the like 2 people watching this podcast that haven't watched ahead of us, which you should, go ahead and you should definitely finish watching everything and then come back and listen, because we're getting into stuff where like everything we say is a spoiler.
Yep.
But Gendo reaches into Rei to fuse back together Adam Lilith. And if you don't understand that Adam is on his hand, that's a little, I think, more vague and kind of confusing.
Yeah. For sure.
Because I don't think I'd seen that shot the first time I watched End of Evangelion, and I was like, I don't understand why he put his hand inside a Rei. It was just like really weird, but like, yeah, that shot's definitely important. So we see a quick shot of Rei just kind of thinking about some stuff, and of course this is Rei 3 now, so she's kind of trying to come to terms with everything and identify like with all the things that she, all the characters like Shinji and all that, and figure out everything. Dylan, we have a very sad scene to talk about.
Yeah, we do.
Because Misato has to say goodbye to Pin Pin.
I even wrote down my notes. So long, Pin Pin.
So, yeah, Pin Pin has to go because, things are getting heavy. And so he goes to live with another family. Again, spoilers, guys, if you haven't seen the End of Evangelion. When all the quantum rays, or whatever you want to call them, appear everywhere and start taking removing people's AT fields to disintegrate them into the LCL goo or whatever, Pin Pin's an animal, so he probably wouldn't be counted as that. But I like to think that somewhere there was like one of the rays turned into like a female Pin Pin, and he joined all the people in the LCL.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I like this because this is an episode where a lot of important things happen, and they're really time constrained.
Yes.
And they probably could have never mentioned Pin Pin again for the rest of the series, and no one would have ever noticed.
Absolutely.
But instead they're like, no, we can't do Pin Pin like that. We have to let him know. People know that he's safe and okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's several shots like that. I mean, in the last episode, when Misato tries to go to Shinji, and then he rejects her, then he walks out and she sees Pin Pin, and she's like, hey, Pin Pin, and he rejects her too, and she's like, we didn't need that scene.
No.
I mean, Pin Pin's always there for a little bit of comic relief, but at this point, this scene isn't comic relief, so Pin Pin doesn't really serve a purpose in this scene. But, yeah, goodbye, Pin Pin. So then we get the scene of Karu and Shinji spending the night together, and this is just kind of an extension of the last scene we talked about.
Before we go too deep into this scene, though,
yeah,
I have to mention one quick comment I have this scene. Why do they sleep the way they sleep? It doesn't make any sense to me.
What do you mean?
Why they have the blankets not covering the upper chest or the feet? Just like the mid.
Yeah, it's real hot. It's really hot.
I still I don't even get it.
When it's really hot, you don't cover it up. You just lay on top of the blankets.
I guess so. That's.
I guess I don't know. I just turn on the fan, but
yeah, me too.
Whatever. But I mean, that's kind of how we always see everybody, right?
That's what I'm saying. Is that just like a culture thing? Is that how they sleep?
I don't think so. I think it was just probably easier to show like body movement.
Oh, that makes sense.
Although I think it'd be easier to throw a blanket on, because then you wouldn't have to animate limbs below it.
Yeah.
But I guess if you had to move, then you'd have to animate the blanket moving, and that would be different animation frames than you already had created for the characters, which you could just reuse. So, especially at this point in the show, they definitely would try to, I think, reuse any animation that they possibly could. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's that.
Cool.
So this is the scene where Karu actually tells Shinji that he loves him, and of course Shinji doesn't really. He's very taken aback by that because, as he mentions later, that's the only time he's ever been told that, which is pretty crazy. I'm sure Yui probably said that to him when he was a kid, but in as far as back as his memory goes, no one has ever told him that. Even when things were good between him and Misato, or him and Rei were kind of good, nobody's told him that. And so that's another one of the reasons why it's just like it immediately makes this connection so deep, because Karu has given him something he's never had from anybody else.
Yeah,
something he's always wanted. I mean, that's really what Shinji has always wanted, is just acceptance. He just wants somebody to tell him he's doing a good job, and now finally somebody just does. I don't think there's anything else really to go into that scene. Yeah. I guess I will say Shinji does openly admit that he hates his father.
Yes.
Which is a bit of a change because, as mentioned before, with Shinji's character, the problem is that he doesn't hate his father, and he still wants to try to please him. But now we've seen, that's changed, and now he, there's no, I don't like him, but I still want to please him. He just hates his dad.
Straight up hates his dad, yep.
Which is pretty understandable. So then we see a quick little scene of Karu talking to Seele, and I believe this is not in the on-air version. Not really much to say about it. I mean, Carter just says a lot of philosophical mumbo jumbo.
This is one of those things I'm really glad I read the synopsis thing for or whatever. I didn't realize he was talking to himself, and that Sailor wasn't really there.
Well, no, it just appeared that way to Misato.
Oh, what it says was it was him reaccounting a previous conversation with Sailor.
Oh, really?
And it just shows Sailor there, yeah. So he's still talking to himself. He's just like remembering them when he had a conversation in like the room with them.
Oh, that's not what I got out of it, because I was thinking it was more like he was talking to Sailor, but then when Misato went to look at him, she just didn't.
That's what I thought too. I was like, well, what the hell? Because I was like, that makes Sailor seem like crazy powerful or like have this weird ability. But then, I mean, at least according to Ava Geeks, I don't know how true this is. It's just him remembering a conversation.
Oh, okay.
Like, them like just what they told him to do for the plans.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Well,
either way.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't not a huge deal, doesn't matter either way really. So then Misato wants to get the final answers. What is up with this kid? So she goes to talk to Ritsuko, and Ritsuko says in the English dub, I believe she says he's probably the last angel. Is that right?
Yeah, the final messenger is what she calls him.
Well, that's what she calls him in the subtitles, but in the dub, doesn't she say he's probably the last?
Oh yeah,
angel?
I think so. I think she says last.
Okay, because I thought I remember that line, and then I watched it subbed, and I thought it was different because probably the final messenger. They had to change it because us people in America wouldn't have understood what messenger was.
There's like parts of Nerve that they don't call by their names in English, but they do in the subtitle. And I was like, do you just think we won't understand what this means when he calls something?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Well, they use the term sortai all the time too.
The term what?
Sortai.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they don't ever say that in the English dub. I don't think.
There's like several times I've noticed too when they refer to the Magi by their actual name in the subs, but on the dubs just don't. Or sometimes don't even mention them at all.
Yeah, that makes sense. So then after that line is spoken, we see Karu activating Unit 2 to go down into Central Dogma to go down to where he believes Adam is. Then Shinji is launched into action after hearing the news that Karu is an angel and not being happy about that. So they start fighting, and then Karu mentions that the reason he's able to take over Unit 2 is because its soul is I can't remember what the word he uses is. It's like hiding or something.
Yeah, like yeah, something like that.
Yeah, because of everything that happened with Asuka, the soul is more repressed at the moment, and so Karu's just kind of able to hack the Eva as he wants. And then we see that Karu also has an AT field, which he mentions. I should have written down the exact quote, but it's something about like it's the wall or something that like between that protects your soul.
Yeah. It's like the mind that it's like your mind pushing something kind of like that.
Yeah, it's a barrier to prevent people like getting into your soul and to the deepest parts of you, something like that. So then we see as they continue to fight, they notice another huge presence that they detect as an angel, and we see Ray down there. So is this Ray 3 or is this a quantum ray?
Oh, good point.
I've always wondered that because it seems kind of
ray.
It seems kind of like it's just Ray 3, but then it also generates this huge field that doesn't seem. I guess maybe Ray 3 has that power. She doesn't ever. I mean, we've never seen the Ray in the Ray 2, Ray 1, or Ray 3 use something like that before. So it seems crazy that Ray 3 all of a sudden would be like, oh, look what I can do. It seems more likely to me that one of the quantum rays that gets jumped all through time would have that kind of ability.
Well, yeah, because before she's just like, what does he mean when I am? And then where that Ray standing is like really random. Like, how the heck did she get there so quickly?
Right. Yeah.
So it really does seem like that's like a quantum light, especially the way that he looks at her when he notices her too. Is like kind of like like a little smirk smile, like, oh hey, what's up?
Yeah, but the only thing is it doesn't interfere with anything, but it is detected on the computers, and we've had quantum rays appear multiple times, and this is the first time we actually see them kind of run some kind of interference with something because it's noticed on the computers. So maybe it is Ray 3. I don't really know. It doesn't. There's holes in either theory. I think. Yeah. I don't know if maybe there's probably just a straight up answer and we're missing it. We're talking about theories, but people probably already know. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you have the truth?
I think the quantum ray one is pretty good.
That's kind of what I feel like it is. I guess maybe after what Karu said to Ray, she was like, "Oh, I am different. Look at all these abilities I found out I have."
I guess that's true.
I don't know.
Real quickly, going back to the AT thing, he calls it the sacred domain where none may tread past, the light of the soul, and like the field your heart puts out, or something like that.
Okay.
So basically, just a bunch of poetry.
Your happy place.
Yeah, basically a bunch of poetry for essentially that. The force.
Yeah. Yeah. Essentially, it's the deepest part of you.
Yeah.
That you wouldn't want other people to get into, so you put up a wall around it. But the angels, as opposed to humans, put up an actual, like kind of hologram shield barrier thing. So Karu realizes that this is not Adam crucified here; it is Lilith, and he's been kind of tricked or whatever.
Okay, go ahead. You might say what I was going to say.
No, I was going to jump to the next part. So.
Oh, he says, "Oh, I get it, Lilith, as if he's just possibly now making the connection of the two." And I
always thought those sounded familiar.
I couldn't tell if that's what he meant to say or he's like saying something else. But the way he says it was just like, how are you just now getting that connection?
Yeah, I think it's just the way it's said in the dub, probably.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure whatever voice actor they hired, that guy was there for a day, a couple hours. They gave him all these lines. And he's like, I don't know what any of this stuff means. I'm an angel. I'm some kind of angel. I don't know what. Well, I'll just read it, I guess. Should I do like a weird little gay voice or?
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of offensive. No offense to gay people. So now I feel bad. I shouldn't have said that. So, anyways, then we get the famous. Well, okay. So Shinji grabs Karu and they're talking, and Shinji's just questioning him like, "Why would you do this? Why would you trick me?" And Karu just kind of spills a bunch more philosophical stuff, but eventually says, one of our species has to die, and it's not going to be me, or it's not going to be you.
Yeah, that's what he says. Yeah, not going to be you.
I fucked it up.
He had two options.
I had one moment and I fucked it up. Man, I'm not on a roll in the last couple minutes. I need to watch what's coming out of my head.
This is a interesting part because now knowing more of the background of the stuff than I did before, so much this shit makes so much more sense. But then thinking about when I didn't know what any of this meant, it makes no sense at all.
What do you mean?
Like there's these, well, because I never, like, when you explained it to me how, like, the angels showed up here, like Adam showed up here, Lilith showed up here to populate the planet.
Right.
And they weren't supposed to be at the same time populating. Him saying that line doesn't make so much sense. It's like, well, only one of us can be here. Your species has a desire to live for the future and want that, so you guys deserve to be here. Mm-hmm. But not knowing that, like, him talking about that kind of really doesn't make much sense. Like,
yeah, that's true. Yeah, Evangelion is a show that I think you kind of have to go read some extra information about.
Yeah, definitely.
I think if you tried to just put together that an ancient race of aliens originally sent these two beings here to seed the earth, like, you can't get that information from the show.
No.
There's things that kind of allude to that, but you'd have to take some pretty big stretches to figure that out for yourself, I think.
Yeah.
This is a show that I think really benefits from kind of discussion. What the good thing about Evangelion is, those aren't really, like, big mysteries the show tries to put in front of you. So it's not like it's like, how did these things get here? Like, having that as a big mystery that it never tells you. Those are kind of like behind-the-scenes mysteries that, like, maybe after you've watched the show, you'll look back and be like, how did those things get there? And then you can find that out. Because it'd be worse if the show was like, the whole show was about, how did these things get here? And then they never told you.
Yeah.
But that's, the show just kind of skims over that and it's just like, they're here, don't worry about it. And then they move on and there's other mysteries that they go into. But yeah, it's definitely... I remember the first time I watched the show, I was just like, I don't know what any of this was.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know how people would have done that back in the 90s, really. I mean, the internet was around, but, like, it was such a small thing, especially here in the United States when Evangelion started to air here.
Yeah, no joke, yeah.
Because the internet was super small. There was message boards, but, I mean, how many people were you going to find to talk to about this show?
No joke.
I mean, even now, how many people do you find to talk to? I mean, there is, a very active community on EvaGeeks, but still, it's not like, millions of people or anything.
That's right, yeah.
And that's now. I mean, in the 90s, I can't imagine what it would be like to try to talk to somebody about this show.
It would be nuts. It would be so stressful.
Yeah. So, where were we? So then we get to the famous long take.
Yes.
Where Shinji is just kind of deciding, like, what am I going to do? One of us, either I kill him or we all die. And he's not stating this or thinking this. It's just, it's understood that, he's thinking all that. And then it's like a minute long. I don't remember the exact time. I should have timed it. I've timed it once before, like years ago. I think it's like a minute. And then finally, he squeezes Karu and his head pops off.
Yep.
Goodbye, Karu.
Bye.
Sorry if you hear like a bunch of yelling in the background of my mic, by the way. That's probably in there. Yeah. So, what else about the episode? Anything?
It's really sad. And then you just kind of have, you have Misato and Shinji kind of just.
Yep, Shinji says that was the first time somebody ever told me I love you and all that, and Misato just responds like, "You were the one who chose to live. He chose to die."
Yeah.
And then Shinji just replies like, "You're so cold" or something like that, or "You're so cruel" or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's cold or flavor. But really, I mean, what she said made a shit ton of sense, and I feel like that's probably the best possible way to get over it. Being like, he didn't do anything wrong. He wanted to die. Like he's not like sad. It's like,
in a way, I guess, but like it's the same thing as like. I mean, I mean, they say that both species can't exist at the same time, but where's the rule book for that? Right. Like, did Karu really have to die? Couldn't he have just like I don't know?
Well, I mean, to be fair, the angels have been trying to destroy the cities all the time, so.
Well, sure, but I mean, like from Shinji's perspective,
yeah,
Shinji didn't kill an angel, an enemy. He killed his friend,
right?
And so I think the way Shinji's looking at it is. There's no reason this needed to happen. Even if there is a reason, like
it's like
to Shinji, there is no rule that says like Karu needed to die.
It's probably the point where Shinji probably has a certain level of idea that there's stuff he doesn't know about going on behind the scenes. So I'm sure he sees this as being like, he didn't actually have to die, but I killed him as something part of my dad's plan. Probably he probably still somehow knows it's probably connected to his dad's fault for some reason.
Yeah, or maybe he even just killed him because he was angry about the betrayal.
That too. Yeah.
It could be, but I mean, it's the same thing as like, I mean, if you and your best friend like were put into a ring together and says one of you needs to die, kill the other one, and then your best friend is like, dude, I want you to live. I'm going to take one for you, and then you murdered your best friend. You wouldn't feel good about it just because he said it was okay.
That's true.
Like,
good point.
Even if that was the rules, even if they told you one of you has to die, like. If that's what somebody else tells you, and you go into the arena knowing that, and your friend says, dude, I care about you, I want you to be the one to live, you're not going to go out of it being like, I am the survivor, I deserve to live. You're going to be like, anybody that tells you that you were the one who deserved to live, you're just going to be like, you're terrible.
And the way Masato says it too is just like, he was pathetic and weak because he wanted to die, and you didn't. So
yeah.
She does say it pretty cold.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, this is an awesome episode.
Mm-hmm, really
I think this is one of those episodes that just shows like extremely strong writing because of how much it accomplishes in such a short amount of time. We're introduced to a huge new character that I imagined the first time people watched the show. I know that when I first watched it, I imagined this is the character of the final 3 episodes. This is the climax of the show because the show has always been about there's this many angels coming, and so watching it for the first time, I was always thinking, probably the last episode will finish off the last angel. And so I remember watching this for the first time and being like, there's 2 episodes left and we've killed all the angels. What the heck is going to happen? Yeah. And, then, of course, we'll get into that. We'll get into that next time. But, this is one of those episodes that I think is just so, like, I don't know, well written. I don't know what to say about it. Really it's awesome.
One more point I don't know, we didn't really discuss about much, I had a question about, was when Karu goes to Rei and says, we're like, you're the same as me. Now, at that point, does he know that she's Lilin, or does he think that she's also like part of Adam?
I don't know. I would imagine he would think she was created from Lilith the way he was created from Adam, but maybe he thinks that they're created from the same being. I wouldn't think he would think that because
that's why I wouldn't think so either. But the way he says it's like we're the same thing. We're from the same. He like kind of mentions
right,
like,
but maybe he just means like we're both created from the original beings.
Right.
Plus, again, if the angels do share their information with each other from the cloud, he would understand, like, well, obviously you're not an angel because I'm the last one.
Okay, never mind. I can't. This answers my question. I saw a quote here. It says, you're the first children, Rei. You're the same as me. So both of us ended up in the same form as the Lilim when we inhabited this planet. Kind of being like, I'm from Adam. Like, I'm Adam's form, you're Lilith's form, and we both end up looking like humans. How funny. So, okay, that makes sense then.
Okay, cool. Anything else to say about that episode?
No.
All right, I think that's good. Sorry again, everyone, that I said that Karu had a gay voice.
That's really eating you up.
It is. I feel bad about it. So that's it for the episode. Next week we're going to be doing 25 and 26.
Yep, together.
The finale. We're doing both episodes. So watch both episodes or whatever you want to do to refresh your knowledge. don't just watch 25 because we're going to go into both. It'll probably be a longer one. I don't know. It just didn't. I felt like, I mentioned this before, but I just felt like it wouldn't make as much sense to split those up.
No, I agree.
Yeah, we're doing that, and then we'll probably break briefly for a couple weeks before we do our End of Evangelion podcast, just because End of Evangelion is really long, and it's probably going to be like a super long episode, so we both need to clear like a lot of time to talk about it. Mm-hmm. And also, we just need time to I need time that I can sit down and watch the whole thing and take a ton of notes. Because that's a lot harder to do than it is for a 20-minute episode. And plus, just take some time, think it over, think the show over, watch Death and Rebirth if you wanna. We're not going to, but you're more than welcome to, everybody out there. And then after we do End of Evangelion, we'll probably go on another break of a week or two, and we'll do our special cast. So I mean, that's still over a month out before that. But I want to talk about that a little bit again, just in case maybe you haven't heard the last couple episodes. We're going to be doing a special edition of our podcast. I really wish I would have picked a better name or term for that, because I just keep calling it the special podcast. And I think everybody that contacts me about being in it is really confused as to what they're supposed to call it. Because everybody's like, I want to be on the special podcast. So I don't know. Sorry, I don't have a better name for it.
The series recap.
Okay.
Series recap.
Series recap. Yeah, sure. So if you want to be on the series recap, you can still message me. We do have several people that have said they want to be on it. But there's still room, although, we don't want it to be too crowded. And I think we're going to do Google Hangouts, which has a maximum of 10. And that's a lot. I mean, again, we might do 2 if that many people want to do it. So don't feel like you shouldn't email me. Don't be like, I bet a lot of people already have. If enough people want to, we'll do more than one of these things.
Yeah.
Unless the first one's just a complete disaster. But I don't think that'll happen. But, it's just... We could do 10, but it just seems like that'd be so many people talking over each other.
Right.
And I want people to have a chance to say what they want to say about Evangelion, rather than everybody getting a minute to summarize their thoughts.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know if you and me will really say that much, because we've
probably not. We'll just more or less mediate, I would assume.
Yeah, and just kind of keep the stuff flowing. So. Yeah, or I guess if anybody has any questions for us, I don't know if anybody cares, but we can answer them if you do.
We are experts in Ava, so
that's true. I mean, clearly we really know our stuff.
Yep.
So yeah, real quick, I'm gonna just as of now, the people that have contacted me, and there's more people than this that have said stuff. A couple people left a message somewhere, or a comment somewhere that I replied to, and you never got back to me still. So I'm not gonna be reading your name off, except kind of for one, but I'll explain that in a minute. So if your name's not on here, but you feel like you left me a message, please just go back and try to reply again, or send me another thing. If you sent me a message and we have both been replying and I leave you out, then I'm extremely sorry. That's my bad. That's not your bad. But if you left me a message and never replied when I replied to you, that one's your bad. So fix that. So right now, I'm not going to read their full names because I don't know if they'd want me to. But Jonathan, Eric, Daniel. I'm sure this isn't this person's real name. Maybe it is. Sicarius. I think that's just your screen name. But Sicarius has talked to us a lot and messaged us a lot. But I still don't know. I don't know what your real name is, unless it's Sicarius. And then I apologize. I also apologize if I'm not pronouncing it right.
Then you've also made fun of someone's name and said something about gay people. So.
Yeah, but I don't care about making fun of someone's name. I feel worse about making fun of someone's orientation. But anyways, yeah, so those people, you're all in, as long as, obviously I'll have to contact you, and we'll have to schedule it to see a time when we could all do that. I'll talk to you, I'll email you plenty in advance so we can try to get something set up so that all you guys can be on it. But there is a chance, just depending on people's schedules, that you might not all get to be on there. So, again, we could maybe do more than one. If you aren't able to attend whenever we do it. We're not just going to be like, hey, this is the day, this is the time, be there or else. I'll try to talk to you guys and go back and forth and figure something out. So those are 4 people that have all contacted me and I've messaged back and forth. One more, and this is the person who messaged me on Reddit. This is their username, Phoenix Link. So I wasn't going to bring this one up because it was one of those ones they hadn't replied to me. But I looked back at the message and I think I wasn't very clear. They said something like, hey, I want to be on this. And I messaged them and said something like, oh, cool. Yeah, if you just want to send your email address. And then I just kind of said that. And then it was and then had this big thing and as long as you do that, I'll be messaging you soon, so, pay attention, stay tuned on that, and then as soon as we get closer to it, I'll send you a message. And I think I said that, and they read the second part and kind of missed the part where I said, you send me a message first, so I know where to send you a message, and they just assumed I would send it back over Reddit. So, Phoenix, if you're listening and you were confused by that, send me your email.
We'll get it figured out.
On Reddit. And if I missed anybody, I'm very sorry about that. One more thing. So last week we put out a special episode of our podcast, which was a discussion on the recent Evangelion short film, Another Impact. You've probably seen it, because those videos get more views than our podcast usually does. Quick side note. I think our feed reader messed up because one day we had 120 subscribers on our iTunes, and the next day we had 0, and the next day we had 120 again. But there was one day where I was kind of panicking. I was like, man, what did we do? Everybody left.
We really fucked up.
Shouts out if you follow on iTunes, or if you watch on YouTube, or wherever you watch, or if you watch on archive.org, where the episodes are actually uploaded. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Anybody that watched our last Evangelion thing or spread it around, or just, generally watches the podcast, thanks. I just wanted to,
appreciate it.
Do a quick thanks. We got a lot of comments. Usually when we upload one of those analysis videos, we get a lot of comments and a lot of messages. And I got a lot of really, really cool messages.
There's a lot of really cool insights on stuff like that, and
a lot of cool what?
Insights and theories, a lot of Shinji stuff I didn't think about.
Yeah,
and stuff.
A lot of really cool stuff. Not just on the analysis video, but just in general. A lot of people messaged about the podcast as well. So thanks so much if you did. Really appreciate it. I try to reply to all those. Sometimes I don't reply to those because I get busy and forget. But either way, your comments are very appreciated. I think we only got one negative comment, and it's that I say too much.
And it wasn't even that negative. It was, legitimate, probably good criticism.
Yeah. That being said, not going to change that because that's how I talk. So, if this was a rehearsal, I did it again. If this was also, by the way, that is a good criticism. I shouldn't say as much as I do. If you think you're telling me something I don't know, I edit these podcasts. I am hyper aware of how many times I say I hate listening to myself when I have to play the podcast back. Until recently, I discovered you can edit something if you play it back at 2 times the speed, so then we all sound like chipmunks, and then all the become really funny. But
you did 4 times the past sentence.
I know some of those were on purpose and some of those weren't. So try to figure that out. I was doing a few in there just to add, but yeah, I do that all the time because that's how I get from one thought to the next. I need a buffer while my brain connects to the next idea. There you go. That one was started as
there we go. Now you can't stop it.
I know I do it, guys. I know. I think they were trying to say you could edit those out. Yeah, but then I don't.
It sound weird.
That's a whole thing. Yeah, it'd be weird, and it wouldn't be a natural flow of the conversation. I think the main criticism was just that they wanted to watch a quick little analysis video, and it was 5 times as long as the short. I get that. But, so I was going to say, and then I was like, I'm not going to say it. So I said, but to cover for it. Right. But then as soon as I said, but, I said, right after it. So.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
We're going to go down. But I was going to say, on that note, and I know we're really off the rails at this point, but it's the end of the episode, so I don't care. On that note, if you are somebody that watches this and you're I kind of wish that they would constrain things, get it a little bit tighter and more concise, we're going to be doing that. The podcast is kind of coming to an end. Obviously, we're going to be doing the next couple episodes, End of Evangelion, our special, what would you call it? Series recap. After that, episodes will come out less frequently because they'll be a couple weeks apart. But after the recap, there'll be probably a couple weeks and maybe even a few weeks or a month or something. And we'll try to get onto the manga. I don't know the format of that yet, if that'll be 1 mega episode or if it'll be a couple. We'll have to kind of discuss that. That's still quite a ways off, so I'm not too worried about it. But that'll be an actual regular podcast episode one of these. Did I say manga or manga? I meant to say manga. I think I said manga.
I don't remember.
It's pronounced manga. I don't want to sound like I'm from Kansas. I am from Kansas. But so after that, we'll eventually be getting to the rebuilds. We are going to do the rebuilds. I know some people have asked about it. We will. We want to space some. I'm trying to push us back a bit. So hopefully by the time we get to when we would need to do the 4th movie, it'll be out. That'd be really cool.
That'd be great.
I think we'll probably get to there before it does.
And that analysis video will be really weird.
That will be a crazy one. Because I don't know. We'll figure that out. That's a long ways off, probably. Yeah. If there's any more shorts or anything like that, we'll be doing special episodes about them. But the point I was getting to is, aside from the podcast, we are going to be doing some stuff soon, kind of as because again, we're still going to be doing episodes later, but essentially the main part of the podcast is wrapping up. The actual series rewatch is wrapping up. Once we're done with End of Evangelion and the recap episode, or possibly recap episodes, we're done with the show. And anything else we'll move on to is extra credit. And we're going to do it all, but as long as our schedules permit and you guys keep watching. So we once we've kind of wound up the actual series, though, we're going to do some other Ava content to kind of fill those gaps between the episodes, because it's going to be kind of long gaps. So if you listen to it on iTunes, you won't get that extra content because it's not going to be stuff that'll post on iTunes. But what that's going to look like, and we've kind of talked about this on our Twitter, but we're going to be doing we're still sort of figuring these out, how they're going to be, but they're going to be kind of 3 to 5 minute little analysis videos. They're not going to be ones where we're just talking off the top of our heads, and like the last 5 minutes of this podcast have been a complete mess because it's literally chaos from our brains and mouths not working together well. But these will actually be things that are scripted, rehearsed. Well, not rehearsed, but scripted. We'll read the lines of the script, not have a bunch of uhs, not have a bunch of awkward pauses and tangents about Breaking Bad or Ebola or whatever. They're going to be 3 to 5 minute concise little episodes that talk about aspects of the show, and they'll have a video component to this. So why they're not going to be on iTunes, they'll use video from the show. So for example, we might do a video talking about Second Impact, and it's just 3 minutes of everything the show ever says about Second Impact, all the facts that we know about it from the show, and then maybe the last 30 seconds are also here's some popular theories or whatever. Then we might have another one on Rei Ayanami, or maybe even the separate Reis. We might have another one on the Evangelions, Adam, Lilith, AT Fields, Progressive Knives, and most of those will just be complete facts, not stuff that we're making up, things that we know from the show or that have been proven through what the writers have said, and then maybe a little bit of speculation. I hope that all makes sense. I think it does. But yeah, there'll be quick little videos. If you've already listened to this podcast, if you've already watched a lot of Ava, it might not be anything that you're interested in because it's probably a lot of facts you'll already know. But, it'll be video. It'll be cool. We'll actually, and when I say video, I mean video from the show. We'll use, stuff from the show. It's not just going to be us on a couch talking about these things. That being said, though, they will only be, as of now, they will only be about the original show. Just because I think it's a little bit iffier to put clips of the rebuild onto YouTube because of copyright. But I think as long as you take out the audio, I think pretty much the shows you can upload. I see people upload tons of AMVs and stuff. We even have one on our channel. The Nickelback AMV.
Oh yeah, we do. I forgot about that.
Which is a joke if you didn't know. But yeah, so we will be getting to those soon. I don't have a release date on those. We're working on our own big show right now that isn't about Ava, so we're kind of busy with it. And of course, we're trying to finish up this podcast. But once we get some more free time, I don't want anybody to be like, oh, the podcast is almost over, I guess I should go on. You're totally free to do that. I don't expect you to stick around and watch more stuff. But if you do want to stick around, if you've subscribed to our channel for this podcast and you're thinking, I really would like some other Ava content from this channel, we do have more coming. That being said, we still don't consider ourselves an Ava channel. We do our other stuff too, and even though, honestly, the Evangelion stuff is much more successful, we're working on some stuff that we're extremely excited about and proud of. It's not just some video of us standing in front of a camera opening up Pokemon cards or some crap.
Hey, I'm sure you're proud of those videos.
We're working on legitimate stuff. So we don't want this channel to be completely Evangelion. And you don't feel like you have to watch other stuff at all. If you want to, that's really great, and we really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
But if you're just here for Evangelion, we totally understand. That's, I think, what a lot of our subscriber base is from.
No hard feelings.
Yeah, definitely not. And we're not going to be offended. Even if we get comments on the other videos you guys need to quit uploading this other crap and stick to Ava, I totally get. We haven't got any comments like that, but I would totally understand if we did, because that's kind of how I would feel if I subscribed to a channel for something and they kept having these goofy videos come out. But, honestly, this podcast is something we started just because we wanted something else on our channel other than the stupid videos we were posting. And we didn't have any idea that people would want this or want to watch it. We just figured, I don't know, let's try to put something on YouTube. And so, we're still trying to build up our other stuff. I'm going to end it because I don't want to sound like I'm trying to plug our stuff, because I don't want this podcast to ever turn into us plugging our other stuff.
Right.
I'm just trying to explain like the other content on our channel, and just let everyone know we're still making our own stuff. But if you do want to stick around for Evangelion, there will be new stuff for that too. We've gone on way too long.
Yes, we have.
So we're gonna go. Bye.